Everyone, welcome back to Debug Diary. I am Manrshi Jadeja, and in this our episode 10 of a Blazor crash course, we are going to deep dive in a state management in Blazor. So just for better learning purposes, you guys can move to 1.5x playback speed. So before we move to our today's episode, let's discuss about our previous episode, that what we have gone through. So in our last episode, we are going through with the HTTP client, that how using the HTTP client you guys are able to call the different REST APIs. In which particular episode we have gone through the demo, in which we are mainly working with the two REST API. One was a GET and one was a POST. So we are getting some data with the GET API from the product list, and using the one POST add insert API, we are inserting some data in the product list, right? So this was all about that. If you guys have any doubt regarding that video, you can comment it down below. We will go through that again. So now let's start with the state management in Blazor. So mainly if we talk about the state management in Blazor, there are three main state management. First is in a component based, second is in an application based, and third is in a persistent. What is covered in a third? That in third we are going to cover the session storage and memory storage in a Blazor. So mainly in the real life scenario, there will be some possibility that you have to store that particular data in your storage. So at that time you have to implement this. Okay, so first let's discuss about the component based storage. We can say means how component is going to manage the state throughout your running project. Okay, so this is about the last product component that we have developed. Let me move to the counter part. So if we talk about the counter, that this is a one kind of a component. So if we want to check about how the component are going to manage the state, so as we have taken one variable, that is a current count. Afterwards we are incrementing that particular count and we are printing that incremented count into our HTML UI. So this is the, we can say, this is the one variable or the one storage state we are defined in our Blazor component. But now what will be the scenario, that how this variable is going to manage throughout our running application? That first, whenever you guys are refreshing the page, your counter will be again go to the 0. If you are moving to the, or if you are rendering to the next particular Razor component, again once you back to this component, your counter will be again 0. So what that means, that the counter state will be, or the component state will be refreshed by the every movement or the every action that you guys are doing to well, right? So let me run this project and show you. Okay, project is getting built. You can see here. Okay, so you can see here that it is a counter of 0. That means we have a one variable. Which variable? That is our current count. So it is initialized as a 0. So whenever I will click to this particular button, it will be incremented. But how the state will going to manage, or the how state will be managed in this particular component? How that if I'll refresh this particular page, it will be again goes to 0. If I'll move to another component and again come back to this particular counter component, again it will goes to 0. So we can say it is a temporary, just temporary storing some value throughout your application. So this is about the component, that how component is managing its state. Now let's discuss how application state is going to manage. Might be you want some kind of variable in which you want the value throughout your application with the different component. So to get that particular output, how you have to implement that code, that you have to create one services. After creating that services, you have to implement as a dependency injection. You have to inject that services in your program.cs, as we have already learned this into our last video. If you guys have any doubt about the dependency injection, you can again refer our previous video, or if you have any doubt, you can mention out in a below comment as well, right? Yeah. So in that, what will be the happen? Let me show you that we have a one service, that is a GUID service, in which at the initialization part we are initializing some value to the GUID, and afterwards in GUID we are returning this value, that is we have generated in the constructor part, and this value we have shown as a variable h1 tag into the home component. So now, as you guys are able to see in our this our in a command, or sorry, in our portal, that if you are moving from one component to another component, if you are refreshing the page, your GUID is value already here. It is not resetting again, we can say. So yeah, you can see why it is changing the value, as we have already discussed in the service cycle life cycles. If you guys are not aware about that, you can go to that video as well. Yeah, so if I'll go to the some another component, again I come back to this, there will be some new value we can see that we are able to see here. There is no such a empty GUID is shown here. Yeah. So this is about the application state, that whenever you guys want to manage the state between the different component, at that time you have to implement like this. I hope you guys are clear about this. So now let's move to the most important part, and that will be the how you can manage your data with the local storage and the session storage. So let me first close this project. Okay, in Blazor we have two different packages, NuGet packages, that you have to install for managing local storage and the session storage. The difference between local storage and session storage is that in local storage, whenever you guys are closing that particular browser and again you come back to that browser, you are able to see the value of your stored data. Why? That it is storing the data into the, we can say, memory of that browser. But what about the session? Session storage is only implemented or only storing that data to that particular browser session, means or the browser tab session. Once you close that particular tab and again you will come back to that, there will be no data in that session. So if you want some kind of data that can be we can say that can be stored throughout your application or throughout your process, you can store into the session. But you want some data that in between, might be if you are working with some banking form, right? In that you are filling the form and suddenly the power cut off. So at that time what you have to do, if you lost your particular data in banking sector, most probably the forms are lengthy. So if you lost that particular data, it will be a, we can say, tough task for client as well to again fill up that form. So what we can do in that kind of scenario, we can store our data into the local storage. So whenever the user come back or user again open the browser, the data will be stored already there. We cannot store that data on the session storage. Why? As I have said, that session is only managed for that particular browser or the particular tab. So once the browser is closed, your session data will be removed, but your local storage will be as it is. So I hope you guys are clear theoretical. Now let's do the practical. So as I said, we have to install both packages both NuGet packages. One will be for the session storage. So you have to install this Blazored session storage for the session management, or once it is installed, we have to install the local storage as well. Okay, so package is getting ready now. Okay, yeah, so Blazor session storage is successfully installed. Now we have to install this local storage package. Okay, now done. Okay, so as you guys are clear with the both packages, that you have to install these both NuGets. Once you are installed this NuGet, you have to add the dependency services for the local storage and as well as for the session storage. So let me insert the dependency for Blazored session storage, right? Okay, I think it will be a add Blazor session storage. Okay, yeah, fine. Now similar to the local storage, and this namespace we have to enter. So now we have successfully injected our dependency for the local storage and the session storage. Now what we are going to implement as of now to demonstrate the how local storage and session storage is going to work here, that as you guys already aware about, we have a one form, product form, in which we are storing some data. So just for the example, as I have a, you just remember like this is my lengthy form, and in some case might be in between my browser is closed. At that time I want to prevent the data loss, or the whatever I have filled in that particular form, I want to prevent that. So what can I do? That I can implement the local storage over there. So we are going to implement that particular here. So before implementing, we have to inject the services. What is the service? That I session manage, I think Blazored, right? Blazored local storage and I local storage services. Fine. I think now there is no need for this prefix. We can remove it. Local storage service. Okay, let me add the namespace for this. Now similar to this, we will implement the session storage. Again we have to add the namespace for this. This will be my session storage service, right? Now as I have tell you that in our particular product name, what we are going to do now, right now, that in product name we will implement the local storage, right? And in the price field we are going to implement the session storage. So what will be the difference at that time of a demonstration? That whenever I will close the browser and again I will be come back to that particular portal, my name will be as it is over there, product name, but my price will be not there. But throughout my process, if I am moving to the one component to another component, or moving one tab to another tab, at that time price will be remain there. But once the browser is closed, my session will be cleared, so price will be lost. Okay, so let me implement that. As we will implement the on input method here, and here we implement add session storage, add product in session storage, right? We have to define this method. Now let me create that public async class, will be this add product, in which we will be going to take change event argument. As every in the on input we are going to take the value of an name. So now what we will do, that let me store this value first here. Variable value equal e dot, okay, change event argument e dot value dot toString, right? Now, so first I will check that string is null or empty. As we need to verify this. If value is a null, what we will do, that we can say just add product dot name equal to string dot empty, right? Else what we have to do, in other condition we have to bind this particular value to the product name. Okay, so first let me bind this value to the product name. So how we can bind that e dot, as we have a value, right? We can bind the value. Once we bind this value into the our name field, now we want to set the local storage. We can say we will set local storage here, right? Now, so how you can set that, use await local storage service dot I think this is not a correct method that we have implemented. I local storage service, that is correct. What is this? Yeah, we have to set the item. Okay, as of now we are already known about that our name is in a string. So first we have to give the key. So what we will give the key, so that will be my product s underscore name, right? And what will be the value? The value will be product dot name. Yeah, so we are done with that. So whatever the value is user is going to add in this name field, it will be automatically come here, and we are setting this value in the local storage. So at the runtime, whatever the data added by the client, it will be directly added to the local storage. Now let me implement the same thing for the, you can say, price, right? And we will add price in, okay, yeah, sorry, we have added this data to local storage, right? Now in this we are going to data add in the session storage. Okay, let me change this as well, that in local storage, and similar to this functionality we have to add price in a session storage, right? Okay, so now method is correct. One thing you guys have to keep in mind, that whenever you are using an input number component, at that time you cannot use this event on input. So in this number field you have to use like input type will be, we can say type will be number, right? And now you can use the on input field, correct? Okay, right. Okay, there is no need for this bundle. What we are getting, that the attribute name could be, in fact bind attribute should be the form bind. Okay, there is no need for this. As for the input will work fine. Okay, so Now we have to change this particular method for the add price in a session storage. So let me do the same thing. That first value, as our price is value in the decimal, so what we have to do, that first we will check that the getting value is a string, is a null or the empty. At that time we'll just store the 0 value in our price field. If value is not in 0, then what we have to do, that we have to store decimal value in our, so convert to decimal, we can say this will be a value, right? So first we will convert it to the decimal, and afterwards we will store it to the price, correct? Now for the session storage, same kind of coding you have to do. We will go to the session storage service. As of now the price is in a decimal, so you cannot use the set item as a string, so you have to just use the set item as string. And now you have to give the, what we can say, the variable data type. In case if you have a class, you can store the class as well. So now we have a value like a decimal, so we will give it that. Now it is in a product price. Okay, so we have given the product price, and now we have to select the product price as well. Now let's do the one thing. Now what we have to do, that as we have already stored this value, whenever the user are entering something in that input field, but now what is our task, that as user have already stored this value in the storage, now we have to get once the user is back. So there are some method that you can use. That first is an on initialize, but you cannot initialize the storage value in this life cycle method. Why? As on initialize is the storage, the method that we are going to use for the local storage and session storage to get some data from the storage, we can say storage data, that is in the background they are taking some data with the use of an JS. And as we are already aware about that, JS is initialized once the whole project is configured successfully. So the on initialize will get the call before JS is initialized. So at that time, if you will use or if you will get some data or a local storage data or the, we can say, session storage data in the on initialize, you will get the error in the runtime, not in a compile time, but in a runtime you will get the error. So you have to use one method. Okay, let me show you that first. Let's, as of now we are implementing the whatever thing we want to implement in the on initialize, right? So let me implement this. Okay, so what we will do, that whenever user come back, we will take that data from the storage and we will again it bind to the product name and product price, right? Okay, so let me take stored product name. Okay, right, wait, we have stored product name from the local storage, so we have to use the get item as a string async, as we have stored as a string async. So we, in this we have to just pass the key name. Okay, so what is our key name? That is our product name. Okay, right. Now similar to this, let's define the first, we will check the is string is null or empty. If stored product is not null or empty, then what we will do, that we will again bind it to the actual field, right? Product dot name equal to stored product name. I hope you guys are understanding this, right? Now similar to this, what we have to do, that just copy and paste. Now stored price name, we can say price name, and that price we have stored in the session storage, right? So we will get it from the session storage. Our key, what is our name of a key? As we haven't stored this as a string, we have stored as a decimal, so we have to take it back from the decimal. So first we will use the get item async, we have to give the decimal data type, and now we have to pass the key name. So what we have given the name of a key, that is product price, right? And Once we are done with the data, we have to convert that. Okay, let me where converted value, right? As we have to convert this, I don't think we need to convert this, as we are already getting the data in a decimal, right? So we are directly pass it to the price field. Okay, I hope you guys are going to already cleared about this. Now let me run the project. As I have already tell that it is not going to run in a on initialize, right? What is the reason? Let's run and we will see the output. So project is getting built. I think this video is going to little bit lengthy, but just stay tuned. I'm damn sure that at the end of this project, at the end of this episode, you guys are definitely clear with the session storage and local storage as well, and you can implement throughout your real life implementation. Yeah, so we are getting here, we are getting the error here. What is the error? As I have told, that invalid operation exception, JavaScript interrupt call cannot be issued at this time. As I have already said, that we are using the NuGet that is provided by the C#, but in the backend it is using the JS. So as I already says that on initialized part JS is not going to work, as our whole project is not initialized. So after the rendering particular component, then and then we can use the JS part. So this is because the component is being statically rendered. When pre-rendering is enabled, JavaScript interrupt call can only be performed during the on after render sync. So this is the one life cycle method that we have to use. So let me use this. We need to do protected async override, right? We are going to override this method. There is one parameter that we have to take here, and that is the is first render. Why we need to take this? That whenever you guys are going to do a single change throughout your component, you are going to get the call here in the on after render. So as we when in a which particular time we want data from the this our storage, so on the only initial time we are not going to take the data from the every request or the every call that we are going to come here in the after render. So we have to use this boolean is first render, right? This is the inbuilt component, inbuilt variable that you can say is provided by the on after render. So I will put the condition that on is first render, that first we will check that we are getting the call in the after render as in a first render, that in the part of initialization we are getting the call, that is fine for us, otherwise we are not going to execute our code. So now this code is not going to work for us, so we will remove that and we will add that code to in this part, right? Now once the process is complete, we have to notify the component that now you have to change the state. So I think now we are clear with the all things. Now we have to debug the code. Now let's run and we can see that things are working fine or not. Okay, so as you guys can see, there is no such a error we are facing as of now. Now let me add the first product name. Product name will be, we can say, my product, as we are getting every call in the on input to this particular method, add product in local storage. If you guys want to put a debug here, you can put and see the whole process that it is working fine or not, right? So now as I have entered the product, let me check in the inspect that it is able to store the value in the session or not. As we have stored our name in the session storage, no, we have stored in the local storage. So let me check. Yeah, as we have already entered the value, so successfully it is stored in the local storage, that is my product, right? Now in our session storage there is no such a data, so let me add the price, that is 542. Okay, now you can see that successfully we have stored our product price into the session storage as well. Now, as I have already said, that let's first talk about the session storage. Whenever I am going to move from one component to the another component, the data will be stay as it is. There is no going to lose that data, right? Okay. Why we are not, we have a value in the product price field, but we are not getting here, right? Why we need to check here. We are taking this data from the session storage, stored price name. Let me put it down debug here so we can see that why we are not getting our data. Let me refresh this page. When we are come to here, that is stored price is 542 and product price is we have updated and we have to the state change as well, right? But we are not getting call here. Why? I think there is something wrong here. Let me check. I think whenever we are refreshing this page, we are getting call in the add price in session storage as well. Let me continue. No, we are not getting the call over there as well. Okay, let me check the HTML. Okay, yeah, so we are forget to binding this value to this component. So let me bind this value, bind value equal to product dot price, right? I think now this will work fine. Okay, yeah, so as you guys can see, now I am going to close this browser. So what will be the happen, that my product will be as it is. At the initial part of a price, it will be a 0, right? So let me run it again. Okay, let me go to the product price. Let me remove this debug. And let's remove the debug from here as well. Okay, now you can see that our product name is stored in our local storage. So if even if I close this particular browser, the data is already stored in local session, or sorry, local storage. So in which particular in a live scenario, in the real life scenario, you guys can use, as I have already given example, that if you are filling a long form or the lengthy form, at that time you can store your form's value in the your local storage. So even if the in the scenario of a power cut, your clients or your users data will be as it is not going to lost. Okay, so now let me store the price value, that is 524, and let me go to the counter, and again I will go back to the that particular product. Yeah, so you are able to see that I am getting the 524 value. It is stored in our price. Okay, again let me refresh this particular page. Again I am getting this value from the session storage. So now if I'll close this browser and again I will run this project, my product will be as it is from the local storage, but my price will be cleared as I have closed the browser, so session is cleared. Okay, so let me run it again. Yeah, let me go to the product. Yeah, so you can see here that our product value is as it is, but our price value is gone. So I hope you guys are clear about the session storage, clear about the local storage, and as we have talked about the earlier, that how you can manage your state in the component, how you can manage your state throughout the application with the use of services. So this was all about the state management Blazor. If you guys want the reference for this code, I will upload it to the GitHub. If you have any doubt regarding this, you can just comment it down below. We will discuss it further more. So just stay tuned about our next video. Thank you.